Welcome to TJK Shares, ladies and gentlemen. This is another beautiful day in Michigan and a beautiful day where our special guest today is coming from. Ladies and gentlemen, we've promised you we'll bring you people who are doing transformational work around the world. These are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. On this channel, we learn together, we unlearn together, and we relearn so many things. But in our tradition, we start by getting to know our guests, their background, where they were born, their childhood dreams, and then we get into the work they are doing. And this one is even more exciting because pointing right next to our neighboring country, Kenya. Taylor is a force to be reckoned with, ladies and gentlemen. She's coming to us right now from New Jersey, her home area. I've known Taylor for many years now. But the work Taylor does goes beyond my understanding. The energy she has for this work, the amount of enthusiasm she brings to this work is so infectious. And when you hear about what she does and how she does it, you will agree with me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Taylor. Please come and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And thank you so much for making time to have this conversation on a eve when you're about to travel so many miles.
Thank you, Jackson. I'm so excited to be here. It's very humbling that you've asked me and asked, team to be represented. So thank you. We really appreciate it. So my name is Taylor DeMaio. Recently got married, so I will be going by Taylor DeMaio starting in the fall. And I, thank you. And so I was a high school English teacher for about 8 years. I decided that it was time for me, unfortunately, to leave the classroom, which was a very difficult decision. It took several years to grapple with. But when I learned about team while I was teaching, through my dad, who was one of the principals associated with team, I knew that I wanted to get involved in some way. So when it came time for me to transition careers, I reached out to Jarrett, the founder, and asked if there was anything that I could do. And team was ready to really grow at that time. So he created a position, and it was the first full-time position with team. And ever since then, it's been growing every single day. So it's been really exciting to stay involved in education. That's something I always wanted to do. And it kind of combines a lot of my different interests while having a huge impact on the world.
Very good. You jumped right into getting into team. We want to know where you were born, how your parents shaped your passions today. If you have any siblings, just humor us. Take us back to your childhood.
Yeah, my family is a family of, if I were to capture it in one word, I would say a family of helpers. Education runs deep in my family and nursing runs deep in my family. My mother and sister are nurses. My other sister, my father, my grandfather are all educators. So that's just, I guess, something that defines my family. And through my upbringing and through just the way that I've seen my family be, it was just a natural fit. Like I would never want to be anything but a teacher. So that's definitely, undoubtedly what shaped my passions. And it's been really exciting to see that for my sisters too. So I have two younger sisters. Both of them are new mommies. So it's been really exciting to see, to see our family grow and to see my little sisters become moms, and me becoming an aunt. It's so fun. Yeah, so I would definitely attribute my passions to my family. Even like personality wise, it's, as some educators can be really serious, some nurses can be really serious. Like my family, we really enjoy having fun while making an impact in some way, shape, or form and helping other people.
Very good. I've met your dad, so if there's anybody who doubts what Taylor, huh? No, I've met your dad, I've met your mom on many of these events we do together with the team. So you are involved in work that really combines your passion, combines your background. Your dad was a principal, you are a trained teacher, your mom is a nurse, your sisters are in healthcare. So how do you believe teaching empathy and entrepreneurship helps students to tackle global issues?
So I think particularly in today's state of affairs, the way that the world is, empathy is very much lacking. And it's very difficult on a personal level for me to understand how the world has gotten this way because like I've surrounded myself with people my whole life who have empathy and who display compassion. So when that's lacking, I'm like, I don't understand how, like, how can someone not be this way? So, I think when we're talking about molding the kids and they don't see that, it can be very detrimental. So that's like one of my most favorite elements of team is explicitly teaching students about the importance of empathy because they're not seeing it all the time. And the way the world is, and the news and social media, it's like there's a lot of negative and a lot of apathy and a lot of contention. So to be like a positive presence and to teach them like, no, that's not what we want. What we want is for us to be able to connect with one another and use our differences to learn from one another and appreciate diversity and appreciate different cultures. Like we're trying to really explain to students that empathy can be like world like it can change their world, it can
Mm.
change their lives. And so that's something that I find really important. And for everyone at team, it's something that we all possess. And so it's very natural for us to teach it to the students, and they're extremely receptive. Um, and then in terms of social entrepreneurship, it's, the first phase of any type of connection with someone and to make any type of impact, no matter how big or small, you have to have empathy. But then to take it to the next level and to incorporate social entrepreneurship into this change, we're not just talking about theory here. We're not just talking about, well, we could do this to help. We could do this to help. It's okay, you want to do this to help. Let's help make that happen. And so they can apply for grants, and then we give them seed money and they learn, different ways to turn that seed money into profit, and all the profits that they generate go to the projects and communities that they support overseas. So they're starting to see like the level of impact that they have the ability to make. And we're really trying to foster that sense of empathy to help them, and passion to help them want to continue to make that type of influence in the world.
Do you remember how the name team came by? I know Jarrett and Dan told me the story. They were in high school together in New Jersey. And when they started working, they just didn't want to make a donation, just send a donation. They wanted to inspire young people, starting
Mhm.
with the county where they went to school in. And by the way, we wore our twin shirts, team. When we say team, we are not saying
Proudly.
we are saying team with a triple E in the middle.
Mhm.
Why did they name it team? Maybe
I actually
at one time and get this in.
I can tell you why he created Team, but the name Team, I actually asked him recently. I'm like, how did you come up with the name Team anyway? Like, it's funny, like I can tell you all about like his motivation behind creating the organization itself, but the actual name Team, it was originally supposed to have two E's and that was taken, so he added another E. Um, but I think the motivation and the driving force behind why he created the organization as a whole has a lot to do with, again, his ability and want to make positive changes in the world. And, you know, he was a photojournalist for about 20 years, and he would travel to some of the world's most impoverished places and listen to communities and take pictures and write books and make stories and try to have his imprint that way. And at one point he was like, I feel like this is not enough. So he decided he's like, you know, I want to get the youth involved, you know, because by a certain age, it's like you kind of are set in your ways a little bit. And, you know, if you're going to try and target people to make donations at an older age, it's gonna, yes, it can be impactful, but to get students at young ages and expose them to the different areas of the world and to have them recognize some of the issues on a major global scale and not just learn about them, but to get them actively involved and to allow them to become problem solvers and even decision makers, and activists with positive change agency as a force for them. Like, that is where real change is going to begin. So you're tapping into them while they're developing, as opposed to, you know, just having an organization and kind of seeking donations from adults. So it's a completely different style of approach to some of the world's biggest problems.
Tim works with organizations all around the world. By the time I joined, they were already, by the time Onyaka joined, were already success stories. In your work, this is the tough question because I would like you to point on one success story. And Nyaka works with the team, full disclosure. We have good, huge success stories, but please point our listeners who don't know Tim, who are hearing for the first time, one or two of the success stories so far.
I actually will talk about Nyaka because there are two in particular that stick in my mind. So I'm gonna go with the most recent one with the students at Briarcliff because they are just unbelievable. So to us, success looks like, I think it's important to see, like, for us, like, what does that mean? So for us, success looks like student engagement and students choosing to become change agents in some way, shape, or form. It's not necessarily a success is they raise the most money. Like, to us, like, that's not what defines us. What defines us is students having the ability and the drive to be involved in a community outside their own and to listen to the needs of the community and establish relationships to create some form of positive change. So we have 8th graders at Briarcliff Middle School in Mountain Lakes, and they've been just so wonderful. They chose to, you know, after learning about some of the programs that Nyaka offers, they chose to connect with the students at your school. And they decided at the very beginning of the year, we want to sponsor an entire class. And we're like, okay, like, that's going to be a lofty goal, right? So, but let's see what we can do. And it blew my mind. Like, it went way beyond my expectations because on Nyaka's end, they were like, great, here's a roster. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, so not only are we going to sponsor a class, like, we get to actually, like, know who these students are. So we were given a roster of the class over in Uganda and students' pictures, and our students in New Jersey loved that. And they were like, we want to, like, get to know them. So then they started creating like a pen pal campaign where every student wrote a letter to another student, and then the teacher scanned them, swapped them, and then there were pictures of the students in Uganda with the letters from the students in Mountain Lakes, and they kept that going for like months. So it wasn't just like a one and done. And then in addition to that, the students at Mountain Lakes were like, what types of events can we run to help with the school costs affiliated with going to school in Uganda? So the students ran tremendous events, and it's all, again, like, student run. Like, the teacher advisor is fantastic, very supportive. And at the end of the day, he follows what the students want to do. So they had multiple events. They raised, I have to look back to see exactly how much they raised close, like with team's support at the very beginning of the year too. I think they raised like $30,000 this year. And which is fantastic because they were able to sponsor the entire class. But then they went even further and they knew you were going to Uganda. So they're like, let's create like care
Yes.
packages, like Valentine's. And I'm like, well, it's going to be hard to ship to Uganda. It's going to take a while. And they were like, well, can we ship it to Jackson? And I was like, okay, let's ask him. So,
Okay.
so yeah, so they shipped it to you. And then, we got pictures of the students in Uganda, like holding their care packages. And then we just found out last week, like it was like the last day or the second to last day of school in Mountain Lakes, that the students in Uganda through Dennis got to connect with the students in Mountain Lakes virtually for the first time. And they were like so excited about it. So like to us, like, we're like, oh my gosh, there were so many levels of success to this partnership this year, and to end the school year with like, we made the virtual connection happen, was just so exciting.
Wow. Dennis, thank you. Michelle, thank you. Team at team. Like for making that really connection. When I delivered those care packages to the students, should have seen their smiles. When in the USA would say it felt like Christmas.
Oh,
For
that's so
them,
wonderful.
really good Christmas, they don't receive gifts. Birthdays are not celebrated. It's being a Valentine because they understand what Valentine is now. It was huge. And then visiting definitely Briarcliff Middle School recently and meeting those two young men who stood on the poster, explained everything to everyone who was coming and their parents. So thank you for inspiring young people to do this. Thank you for getting schools connected and starting younger people to be empathetic, to create entrepreneurship, and to empower others. You work with students. I am sure among everything you do, you face some challenges. What are some of the challenges team
Um,
faces?
I would say so. Originally, we started as a almost like a club for high school students.
Mhm.
And since then we have grown. I mean, just this year alone, we've gone from a club at the high school to clubs and classes K to 12. So
Mm,
there's been like massive growth this year. But one of the challenges that we have found is that, particularly at the high school level, the
mm,
students are so involved in so many things that are so demanding
mm,
that it's tough for them to fully invest in one thing. Because there's club this, sports here, work here, schoolwork, there's so much that requires their attention. So one of our challenges has been to have clubs sustain themselves, particularly in the newer schools, just because of the demands of all these other extracurricular activities that the students have. So we have recognized that, and since then we've helped develop some solutions to make it more sustainable. But I would say that that's one of our biggest challenges, is to really have the students, um, as much as they want to dedicate everything that they have to split their time between all these other activities.
mm. So since we also want to make sure that we are talking about Tim, when I first met you, you were working with high school students. You were working in one school district. Now, the impact report I saw recently, I know all the numbers on it, not on your fingertips, but you kind of alluded to it. You expanded to schools everywhere, to
Mm-hmm,
and to high school,
mm-hmm,
added on so many more schools,
mm-hmm.
so much that I think our conference in 2024-25 might have to go to Madison Square Garden. And you
Yeah.
have
That's the hope. Can you
what,
imagine?
what triggered this expansion and scaling at this fast pace?
So prior to COVID, we started with 3 schools. Then the following year, we had 6 schools. And then COVID hit, ruined everything, of course. And then from there, you know, it took us a little while to gain the momentum back, but with us regaining momentum, we continue to add educational programs and really deepen the value for our students. Since other schools now see that, they see we're not just an organization that says, okay, come partner with us and do some fundraising. Like, that's not what we do. It's, if you partner with us, we have a dedicated staff member to creating curriculum and resources. We have more and more programs, workshops, student opportunities, scholarships, internships. Like, we've added so many layers, and the schools see the immense value that we can provide their students and the opportunities that are available. That team is selling itself now, so all we do is connect with new schools, and we tell them their program, what our programs are, and they're like, this is amazing. And it's free. Like, it's free for schools. So I think because of the added value that we've provided to our organization, the schools want this, like, there's no reason not to join. So from there, it's like, so-and-so talks to this person. And right now we have almost 40 schools. So we've had such a rapid growth because of the opportunities that we can provide students in and out of the classroom.
So for a teacher listening now from South Dakota or Georgia or Nicaragua and says, I want to join team, what steps do they take to get enrolled? How do they get orientation? How do you go about that?
So it's very simple. Everyone comes to me. So
Okay,
if someone's like,
come to
I
take.
want to, yeah, they're like, if I want to learn more, or if I want to just, hear what they have to offer, or possibly even join, it's as simple as an email to me. And so they email me, we set up a conversation and a Zoom call, and I just tell them about, the different programs that we have. And then from there, they figure out how this can best fit into their school. And I think that is another reason that I would be remiss not to mention is the level of flexibility that we have in schools is what makes us so successful, because it's not a one size fits all. It's not, you have to incorporate it this way. It's, take a look at your school. What are some things that you already offer that team can become a partner with, that's already established? Like, it doesn't have to be something brand new. So if you already have a Spanish club and your Spanish club is looking for something else to do, they can partner with one of our Spanish speaking sites, and they already have a teacher in place. They already have students in place. And now we're just going to supplement with some additional activities for their students, for them to learn about different communities. So it's that level of flexibility. It's like, whatever you feel is best sustainable in your school, most sustainable in your school, will be able to make work. And it just starts with a conversation with me.
And that conversation starts with an email, which is taylor@team.org.
Mm-hmm.
You will make sure that is visible so many schools can sign up.
Absolutely.
When you think, Aria, when you are introducing yourself, you did mention you are newly married and you have this demanding job that takes you to different sites. Tomorrow you are getting on a plane and visit one of the sites in Kenya, Grace School.
Mm-hmm.
How do you try to balance those buckets of personal life, work, new husband, mom, dad? Please tell young people who are sitting somewhere and watching this going, how does Taylor do this?
It's funny that you asked that, because I feel like my husband would have an interesting answer for you. um
Where is he? Bring him in.
yeah, I know, right? He's at work. But it's funny because it's like a great problem to have. I love my job. I will never leave team. I love my job. I am going to be here until I retire. And with that, I feel like what I do isn't work. Like, I've never quite understood what people say when they're like, if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I'm like, yeah, right. It's still work. But like, that's how I feel. And so for me, particularly working from home, I can do it around the clock. Right. And so one of the challenges is like, get off the computer, hang out with your new husband and your dog. Like, so for me, it's, I just really love what I do. So it's sometimes I struggle with like, okay, you can turn the computer off now. Like, okay, like work can wait till tomorrow. But you know, and with the travel component, like I love traveling. I've been like that since my early 20s. And so to have a job that offers not just travel, but like meaningful travel, is really exciting. But I mean, in all honesty, it can be challenging, you know, especially when we're going to some places where there are, you know, where there's some unrest. You know, my husband and my mother in particular, and just my family in general is like, you know, just be careful in these places that you're going. Like, you know, sometimes they're dangerous places, some of them. And so I think like for me, I just look at the adventurous side and they're looking at like the side from like safety standpoint.
Left side,
Um,
yes.
yeah, so that's you know, been a challenge, but in terms of balancing, I mean, I do my best, but I have to be reminded, you know, and my husband's really good about that. Like he knows that I love my job and will, you knows that sometimes I'll work late, but there are times where he's like, "Can we, you know, hang out?"
Slow down.
It can be hard to balance.
Like to
But I'm doing my
go
best.
go on a date. But
Yeah, yeah, maybe go on a date or something.
I like that he's coming on a trip with you. Uh,
Mhm.
I've met him at these team events. So really, really, really wonderful work, transformational in nature. What are the future goals of team?
Oh, I feel like that's a question that has limitless answers. Right now, one of our most important goals is to really launch our travel program. So we've tried for the past 2 years to get students to some of our sites.
Mhm.
And because of government or political unrest in those particular areas at the time we were going to go, we've had to cancel both of them.
Mhm.
So, and you know, that's a sometimes the nature of the places that we work. You know, when there is such dire need, there's usually some form of unrest involved. So this August, we're actually able to send students over to the Pine Ridge Reservation. We're gonna go and meet our partners over in South Dakota, and the students are going to not just see the site, but they're going to stay there and they're going to learn how to put up teepees and they're going to stay in the teepees and it's going to be amazing. So for us, we really want to create a travel opportunity for all students that allows them to see the work that they're involved in. And it's sometimes the hurdles that we have to jump can be difficult. So that's a major goal. You know, and just continuing to offer new opportunities, you know, we've had 1 year ago, I had one intern who was interested in working with us, and I was like, oh, this is exciting. You know, I'll try and see what we can do. And now we have 6, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so, like, the opportunities that our students want, we're going to make happen. So, whatever a student wants to do, like, our goal is to make that work. Um, so, you know, and the most important goal is just to continue to get more schools, to get more students involved, to expand our reach, because with that, there'll be further support for the communities that we are involved with and partner with.
And for the partners who are all spread all over the world, from water in Burkina Faso to Egypt to Peru to Pine Ridge, what particular message do you have for us, and how can we effectively continue to work to make your work easier, but also to continue creating those global citizens in all schools around the world? Just a quick message for the partners, uh, and then we'll talk about advice for young people.
I would say, you know, words for our partners is that we are so, you know, grateful and again, humbled that they feel that team is worthy of a partnership, right? And, you know, because there are a lot of opportunities for people to get involved around the world and for someone to select team as a partner and to dedicate their time and resources to helping our students help their sites is very powerful. And it's, you know, we love our site leaders. We love every single one that we work with. We establish great relationships with them. And so we very much appreciate that they put the time and resources into helping team grow, because at the end of the day, it's helping make the world better. And so, for those, like how you come to our events and we take you to the schools and you jump on Zoom with the kids, like we know how busy our site leaders are. And for them to continue to be accessible to our students, that's going to be like the strongest, most compelling factor for students to really invest themselves into the sites. So now that the boys at Mountain Lakes got to meet you and the class got to meet you, it's more than just we're helping students in Uganda. It's like, we've met Jackson, we've talked to Jackson, we want to help Jackson and Jackson's community. It just, that's what makes a big difference, is the accessibility to our students. So I think that is a major factor for success for both partners.
Perfect. And we also, to put in extra, last year when we started talking about connecting students in New Jersey and the ones at Inyaka, you stepped up and gave computers to facilitate that to happen. So technology is growing. Kids so far away from here who would not have access are now getting to meet their fellow students through Zooms, WhatsApps. Amazing work you do. We thank you, Taylor. We thank you, Gerard, and the entire team, Michelle, everybody, travel coordinators in your office who continue to do this. We would like you to have amazing travel to Kenya and in the future to Uganda.
Absolutely.
Some of those interns also to come by. The question we ask everybody who come on this channel is, what advice would you give your 18 young self? Because we have so many young listeners who come and think, oh, Taylor was sent from heaven to come and do this work.
No, she was not.
I'm at 16 and going. What advice would you give yourself at 18?
I would say, and I tell this to my students, like, take risks and step outside your comfort zone. Like I stepped outside my comfort zone one time when I was 22, and since then my comfort zone doesn't exist anymore, because it's that one, like, this is scary, I'm gonna do it, and I did it. It changed my entire life. So for something that you're like, I can't do that, or I don't know, just do it, right? Like, do it, be safe, be smart, but that is what will expose you to so much more of the world than you ever thought possible, and what you think is possible for yourself to do. So to take risks, be smart about it, but to take those risks and step outside your comfort zone, and don't be afraid to fail. You learn from that. I think that is something, like, especially students now, they feel like, I'm not allowed to fail, I'm not allowed. Like, sure you can, of course you can go
Yes.
fail, right? Go fail and then learn from it, because that's going to be the best way that you're going to learn a lesson. So to not be afraid of that.
Perfect. Take risks, go fail, it is okay. Is there something I didn't ask you about that you would like to share?
Oh my goodness. No, I think we covered a lot. I just think it's, I do. I really think that the partnership between Team Nyaka, team and all of our sites, and just the work our students do is tremendous. And I'm so grateful. I tell Jared all the time, I'm so grateful to be a part of this. I mean, it's a job that's, not just on a personal level, a job that I love, but it's just such a great organization, and it's really grown. And so we encourage students and teachers and principals and anyone to reach out to us, so that they can learn what we can offer them and their students.
All right. Taylor, recently we had a guest here who you know, and now I've heard that he's been hired to work with you at team.
Yes, he is.
When he was finishing his interview, this is a Mission for Ukraine, there, he sang a song. Did you play an instrument or did you sing music when you were younger?
I did. I played the flute and the violin for a little bit.
Perfect. So to all our music lovers, Taylor is not going to sing for you. Go back.
Nope.
Have Darren who sang. But in all sincerity, thank you for making time. Safe travels to Kenya. Hopefully we'll see you there. And give hugs and kisses to those young ones who are amazing entrepreneurs and the ones who are supporting them on this side. Peace be with you. Thank you for making time. And all our listeners, continue to listen, follow the links, and follow all the instructions that Taylor gave you to engage your school, to engage young people. Let's not wait until they are in college and busy with their lives. They can become empathetic, more empathetic, they can become entrepreneurs, and you already have the economic empowerment and guide through team that can take them to that next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson.